Well, we're going to start by reading a passage of Scripture. Would you jump to your feet as we read God's Word together today? We're going to start at Matthew 25, starting in verse 14. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one, he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The master who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you have entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share in your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share in your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Do you feel encouraged this morning? You can go ahead and take a seat. In 2005, I was about to graduate high school. And I had that infamous chat that every 18-year-old high school graduate, about soon to be graduate, has with their parents. My parents sat me down and said, Max, what are you going to do next year? I let them know that my intent was to go and play college baseball. I had a scholarship offer. I would be accepting it. I would be going away to a college to play baseball. My parents said, that's amazing, Max. We're so proud of you. Now, what are your plans for the summer before you head to college? I said, well, not much. I'm just going to chill at home. I'm going to practice baseball, lift weights, and get prepared, waiting to go play college baseball. I'm just going to get as ready as I can. And my parents informed me, they said, Max, that's great. You should get prepared to go play college baseball, but you are now an adult. You are now 18, you need to work. Yes, that 4-letter word that every high school student does not love. I had to work, get a J-O-B, a job. And so I said, understood. And so I reached out to a friend who owned a construction company. I was a construction laborer for 3 months, making $8.50 an hour. Praise the Lord. I was rolling in the dough. Living the dream. We actually have a photo of my very first day at my job site. I couldn't resist doing that. So don't ask me to build a home. I was not that great. I did try my hardest, but I did my best, okay? I did my best for 3 months over summer. And so I remember in that season feeling this tension that I knew college was coming. I was going to play college baseball, and I had to prepare for that moment. But in the midst of that, I also had a job to do right now, which was to work construction on job sites. And I remember feeling split of, I need to prepare for the future and what's to come, but I also need to be faithful with what I'm doing right now. And the reason I share that story is that is the same tension that we have today, that we need to be preparing for Jesus to come back. We need to be ready. That's what we talked about last week. However, in the midst of that, we also need to be faithful with what God has given us right now. We must be prepared for Jesus' return, but we cannot neglect the assignment that he's given us in the meantime. Matthew 24, along with Luke 21 and Mark 13, list signs of the end times, meaning, when do we know that the end is near? And this is exactly what the disciples ask in Matthew 24, starting in verse 3. When will this happen? What will be the sign of your coming at the end of the age? And Jesus mentions a number of different things. Here's 10 of them. The first is deception and false prophets. Are there any false religions or cults out there in the world today? Too many to count. There will be wars and rumors of wars. Turn on the news. There will be famines and earthquakes, persecution of believers. Many will fall away from the faith. There will be betrayal and hatred even within the same family. Overall, there will be an increase in wickedness and lawlessness. The love of many will grow cold. The gospel will be preached to all nations. Jerusalem will be surrounded by armies. Is there any tension in the Middle East that has been happening in recent times? And then the last thing is pestilences and other fearful events. Does anybody who was not in the earlier service know what pestilence means? Bad things? What was it? Disease. Yes. So the word pestilence is a deadly and overwhelming disease outbreak. Have we had one of those in recent history? All of this tells us that Jesus is coming back soon. We had better be ready. But the problem that we cannot fall into is what I call escapism, where we're just chilling, waiting for Jesus to come back. This was a huge problem in the early church. In fact, Paul did a teaching in the church, and he writes a letter later to the Thessalonian church because he taught on Jesus' return. And as a result, a bunch of people in the church said, well, if Jesus is coming back, why do I need to work? If he's coming back tomorrow, who cares about my job? And they stopped working. And Paul says this, he says, for even when we were with you, we gave you this rule. The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat. Do not neglect your current responsibilities in anticipation of what is to come. In the 2nd century, there was a group known as the Montanists. They quit their jobs, abandoned their homes, and forbid marriage because Jesus was coming back soon, and so none of that mattered. I find it interesting anytime a group of people claiming to be Christians forbids marriage, because Paul very clearly says in 1 Timothy 4, the Spirit clearly says that in later times, some will abandon the faith and follow deceiving spirits and things taught by demons. Such teachings come through hypocritical liars whose conscience has been seared as with a hot iron. They forbid people to marry. Any group of people that claim to be Christians that start forbidding people to marry, it's not godly teaching, it is demonic. In the 1800s, the Millerites. This gentleman is a sketch of him by the name of William Miller. He predicted, based on a biblical formula, that Jesus was coming back sometime between the year 1843 and 1844. And so thousands of people, as a result, sold all their possessions, quit their jobs, neglected their family responsibilities, and waited on hilltops wearing ascension robes because Jesus was coming back at any moment. When Jesus did not come back in that year, historians called it the Great Disappointment. Many were then left with no savings, no home, and no family stability. The tension is that we need to be prepared for Jesus' return, but we cannot neglect our assignment in the meantime. We need to be ready for him to come back, but we also need to be faithful with what he's entrusted to us. It's also worth noting that this parable carries severe eternal consequences. The very last line, throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This is speaking about hell. What you choose to do with what God has entrusted to you has eternal ramifications. And the goal is that when Jesus comes back, or when we die this side of eternity, whichever comes first, that we hear the words, well done, good and faithful servant. That is the goal. So we need to be prepared for his return and faithful. The title of the message today is How to Wait for Jesus' Return. 2 weeks ago, we talked about the return of Jesus, and the best way to understand it is a Jewish wedding. It's a quick slide. We went through all the steps. If you missed it, go back and watch it on YouTube. Then we jumped into how do we prepare for his return? How do we be ready. And last week we talked about the parable of the 10 bridesmaids. Today we're talking about the very next parable Jesus tells, which is what to do while we wait. What do we need to be faithful with until he comes back? This is the parable of the talents. In verse 14 it starts out, it says, "Again, it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey." Who is the master in the story? The person that went on the journey? Jesus. Now, who are the servants that have been entrusted his wealth? Us. Okay, we're all on the same page with that. The translation I read from says bags of gold, but that's not actually the original word. The original word is talent. And talent does not mean natural ability. Talent was a unit of weight. It was about 75 pounds, and it was either a bag of gold or of silver. And just for basic understanding, this is a massive amount of money. 1 talent of silver was the equivalent of 20 years' wages. So the one who got given 5 talents got given whatever your salary is times 100. This is a significant amount of money. This tells me that the master entrusted a lot to his servants. Jesus has entrusted a lot to us. He has given us life. He's given us health. He's given us relationships. He's given us his Holy Spirit. He's given us supernatural gifts. He's given us possessions, finances, wisdom, creativity, even salvation itself. The gospel message has been entrusted to us. He has given us a lot. It says he gave them each according to their ability. I don't know if you've noticed, but God does not give equal amounts to everybody. There are some people in the world that are just better looking than me. No matter what I do, I will never be as good looking as them. I was fishing for that, kidding. Thank you, love. But there are some people that are just better at certain things than me, right? There's some people who have more than you, but there's also some people who have less than you. And that's the way that it is. God does not treat us all equally. He treats us all uniquely. And in this, he's not showing preferential treatment. It does not say the master chose his favorites and gave his favorites more. It says, no, he entrusted to them according to their ability. Have you ever thanked God for a prayer that he didn't answer in your life? Lord, please let me marry this high school girlfriend that I'm dating. I know I'm only 18 and I'm all wise and knowing, but Lord, this is the girl for me. Please let me marry her. 10 years later, thank you, Jesus, that I did not end up with my high school girlfriend. Man, I dodged the bullet on that one. Right? Sometimes God doesn't answer your prayers. When I moved to New York City for my very first job as a consultant, I remember moving out, and because I had studied business in school, I thought I knew so much about the business world. I have studied in a classroom. I know how business works. So as I started my first job, I prayed. I said, Lord, it's going to take me a little bit to learn some things, but can you make me a CEO in like 3 to 5 years? That would be nice. Make me a CEO of a really large company in 3 to 5 years. Did God do that? How do you know? You don't know. Don't judge me. No, he didn't. Because if I would have been entrusted with that, it would have crushed me. I did not have the ability to be able to sustain it. And so God did not answer that prayer, not because he doesn't love me, but because he does love me. Because God did not give me something that would have taken me out. Sometimes God doesn't give you what you want, not because he doesn't love you, but because he does. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more bags. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. Now it says he returned after a long time. This means that the master was delayed. Jesus said, I'm coming back soon. How many years ago was that? 2,000. He is delayed and coming back. Soon for God and soon for us are 2 different things. He is still coming back soon, but he has been delayed. And what is the master coming back to do? He's coming back to settle accounts. The truth is that you and I own nothing. All we do in this life is manage God's stuff until Jesus comes back. And when he does come back, we will need to give an account for what we did with what he's given to us. The man who received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share in your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share in your master's happiness. Now, pretend you don't know the right answer to this, right? Jesus gives us the right answer, but pretend you don't. And you've got 3 different servants. One starts with 1 bag of gold, ends with 1 bag of gold, grows it by 0. Can we all agree that person is a bad steward? Then you've got the one that started with 2 and he ended up with 4. He grew it by 2. Then you've got the third, or technically the first one in the story, who started with 5, ended up with 10. He grew it by 5. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm ranking these in order of importance, I would probably say the one who grew it by 5 talents was the best servant. The one who only grew it by 2, he did okay. And the one who didn't grow it by any, he was a bad servant. I would view it, if I didn't know the right answer, as a hierarchy of bad, good, and best. But that's not the way that God sees it. He sees it entirely differently. When I was studying at my undergraduate for business at the University of Washington in Seattle, the school graded on a curve. Anybody know what that means, grading on a curve? Right? So it didn't matter what score you got on the test. What mattered was whether or not you beat the other people in the class. And so if we had a class of 30 people, one maybe would get a 4.0. But for everyone who got a 4.0, somebody else failed. They set the average grade at a 2.7. And so your job was to outcompete and beat everybody in the class. And if you did that enough and you got a good enough GPA, you would get into the business school. It was highly competitive. Now, in this season of my life, I'd given my life to Jesus, but I was a brand new believer, and I went through a season of what Christians sometimes call backsliding, or I sort of drifted away from God. And I took this mindset of grading on a curve, and I started applying it to my relationship with Jesus. And so I would, kind of my interactions with God were like, God, I know I'm not doing what I should be doing, but at least I'm doing better than that person. Am I the only one that's ever done that? Got real quiet in this Baptist church. Kidding. Depends on what kind of Baptist. So I took that, and I remember one time I was at a party with a friend, and a guy came up to me. He was really sad. And I'm like, okay, something's wrong. What's going on? And he explained to me, he said, I have been drunk 59 days in a row, only a few of which I was not completely blacked out and couldn't even remember what I did the night before. And I don't want to get to 60, so I'm not drinking tonight. And he was extra sad, I believe, because he was having alcohol withdrawals. And I remember going, Lord, I know I'm not following you as wholeheartedly as I should, but man, look at that guy. Like, he's getting wasted every night. I'm not doing that. Can I tell you, God does not rank us and order us against other people. This is the way we think of things. It's not the way that God thinks of things. God does not grade on a curve. God does not compare you with other people. What God does is he compares you with you and what you should be doing. Those who are faithful will hear, well done, good and faithful servant. They will hear, come and share in your master's happiness. It's interesting that it describes the master as joyful, describes him as happy, and that we get to participate in that joy with him. Too many Christians live consistently unhappy in their life all the time. You ever met a grumpy Christian? Sour-faced Christian? Don't point. Kidding. I believe that the reason this is that so many people who are trying to follow Jesus are actually living for themselves and they're not living for God. When I was 18 years old, I mentioned I left to go away to college. I grew up in Idaho. I know half of the people in this room are from Idaho. So many of us out there. But I remember growing up thinking, I am very unhappy here. There must be something wrong with Idaho. It can't have anything to do with me. It's the environment that I'm in. Idaho is too small. I need to move to a city. So I went to Seattle, the University of Washington. And living in Seattle, after a few years, I said, I'm still not happy. But it's not me, it's the weather. The weather is so bad. I need to go where it's sunnier. So I decided to move to Los Angeles. Much sunnier. But after living in LA, trying to figure out how to be happy, I still wasn't happy. The problem has nothing to do with me. It's the traffic. There's too much traffic. So I moved to New York City where they have public transit. Took my first job, started working. At this point in my life, I've recommitted my life to Jesus. I'm following him. I'm actively involved in a church, and I was still very unhappy. And I was trying to figure out what's going on. Well, it must not be me. It must be New York City. It's too intense. There's too many tourists. I have to get out of here. So I did what every good Christian does if they have a quarter-life crisis. I quit my job, and I moved to Bible college in Sydney, Australia. And I went out to Sydney, and at this point, I'm following Jesus. I'm a part of a local church. I am a Bible college student, and I'm still not happy. I'm still not finding this thing that I'd been searching for, and I couldn't figure it out. And so finally, at the end of Bible college, I finally gave up. And I was like, God, I have moved all around the world thinking that this is the problem, and that's the problem, and that everything is out there, and the one place I haven't been looking is in here. And so, Lord, I give up. I'm tired of moving everywhere. I'm tired of trying to find fulfillment and satisfaction and all those things out there somewhere else. I need to start doing some internal work. I need to get over my own selfishness. And so I started doing some deep work. And I just gave up. I said, God, I will go wherever you want to go. I will do whatever you want me to do. I don't care where I live. I don't care if it's sunny or rainy or traffic or tourists or whatever. I'll go anywhere. And at that point in my life, I got offered an opportunity to move to London, the United Kingdom, where I met the beautiful Juliet. Well, I will say only God can orchestrate a kid from Idaho and a girl who was born in Nigeria meeting in London. Throwing that out there. But I moved to London, and for the first time in my life, I said yes to moving somewhere, not because I wanted to be happy, not because I was looking for fulfillment for me, not because I needed something to get. I moved there because I wanted to build Jesus' church. I wanted to honor him. I wanted to serve people, and I wanted to do my best to steward what God has entrusted to me. And when I did that, can I tell you the craziest thing happened? I found this new sense of joy and fulfillment that I had never experienced before, because I had to get the focus off of myself and start getting it on God and on other people. If we kick into a mindset where we are focused on ourselves, we will never be satisfied. It'll never be enough. True joy comes from loving God and being a blessing to other people. That's why Jesus says it's more blessed to give than to receive. Joy does not come from getting, it comes from giving. And then when we were in London, God says, go to Chicagoland and start a church. And we were like, we don't know anyone in Chicago. In the Chicago area, we don't know anybody. This sounds really wild and out there. And we moved here in the middle of COVID lockdowns. The greatest time to start a church. You should try it sometime. And so we did that. We didn't have a place to meet. We didn't have a team. We didn't have any finances. We had nothing. I didn't have a job. It was like, why the heck would you do that? And we laid down everything to say, God, if you want us to go, we'll go. We will lay down everything, and we will serve you. And we will try to do our best to be a blessing to other people. And can I tell you, it has always been easy. We've never had adversity once. Sarcasm. Right, but even on the toughest days, Juliet and I know we are not doing this for ourselves. If we were in this for selfish motives, I'm trying to build my name, I'm trying to build my career, I'm trying to find a job opportunity where my life is flexible and I can do whatever I want. If we were trying to build something for us, we would have given up a long time ago, because it's not worth it if we were in it for selfish motives. But when we see people who make a decision to put their faith in Jesus, when we see people getting baptized, going public with their faith, when we see marriages and families being healed and restored, when we see people supernaturally healed by the power of God, when we see demons cast out of people, when we see people filled with the Holy Spirit and operating in the gifts the supernatural gifts God's given them. Can I tell you, it makes it all worth it. Because we're not here for ourselves. We're here for God and for other people. And when I made that shift, it changed everything. Joy isn't found in serving yourself. It's found in serving Christ and in serving other people. Following Jesus is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you were a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and I hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. It's interesting that the bad steward says, I knew that you were a hard man. None of the other servants says that. How you see God will determine how you serve God. The good servants saw their master as just, and so they went out and they multiplied what was his. The wicked servant saw the master as harsh, and so he buried his gift. It's interesting that he had a misunderstanding of who God was. But even in that, the master does not come to him and say, hey, you weren't a very good steward, but it's okay, don't worry about it. You didn't really know who I was, and you didn't really know who I was, so I'm just gonna, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. The master doesn't say that. He still calls him a wicked, lazy servant. Misunderstanding God is not an acceptable excuse for poor stewardship. It's our responsibility to have an accurate understanding of who God is. He calls him a wicked, lazy servant. Have you ever re-gifted something that somebody gave to you? No, of course, none of us in this room would ever do that. But hypothetically, if somebody gave you a gift and you thought, I don't really want this, I'm just gonna this is wrapping, in case you're wondering. Rewrap it, and I'm just gonna give it to somebody else. What does that show about how much you value the gift? It shows that you don't. What's even worse than regifting a gift to somebody else is regifting it back to the very person who gave it to you. That is exactly what this servant does. You gave me a talent, I didn't do anything with it. Oh, by the way, here, take it back, it's yours. It shows that he had no value for what he had been given. Nothing. And he regifted it back to the master. He had no value for what the master had given to him. And the master says, well, at least you should have given it to the bank so I could have gotten some interest on it. Anybody know what banks do with the money that you give them? They put it in a very secure area and they don't touch it and they leave your money inside the building. No, they don't. Chella said it. They take your money and they loan your money that you've given them out to somebody else. And they pay you, I don't know, I'll make up a number, 3% interest rate. But they charge that person 7%. And then they keep the 4%. Anyway, if you didn't know that, surprise. That's how banks make money. But what they do is they take what you've given them and they loan it out to somebody else. What Jesus is saying is that if you're not gonna use what I have entrusted it to you, at least loan it to somebody else who's gonna do something with it. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. What this tells me, use it or lose it. Multipliers will be given more. Maintainers, even what they have, it will be taken from them. Waiting for Jesus' return means multiplying what he has given to you, not maintaining it. When I was a little kid, I played soccer. And at the end of every, 7, 8-year-old kid's soccer season, you have the end of year pizza party. Some of you probably been to one. And you go there, and every year we would have some sort of award, like the person who scored the most goals, the most encouraging person on the team, all of that. And you would have all these awards. And I remember one year I showed up, and they had the exact same award, like over and over and over and over and over again. And they were all the exact same award. I thought, that's weird. I walk over, and I look on the bottom, and there was a big old word that started with a P. That word was participation. And at the end of that season, they gave us all participation awards. We got an award for participating. And I remember being so frustrated. Like, I would have rather gotten an award for, I don't know, like, at least if you're going to give everybody an award, at least pick something unique. Most encouraging, most goals scored, most assists, most likely to beat up the other team. I don't know, something. Like, at least pick something of value that we're contributing. Do not give me a participation award. So I immediately quit soccer and played a real sport, American football. I'm kidding. If you played soccer, God bless you. Juliet calls it football. Football. God does not give out participation trophies. He responds to faith. He rewards good stewardship. He blesses those who take care of what is his, who value what he's given. He defines faithful as multiplication. The only difference between the first two stewards and the last one is the first two multiplied. The only difference, they multiplied it. Faithfulness is multiplication, not maintenance. And so I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to just participate on Jesus' team. I don't just want to be in the photo. Team Jesus, yay. That's not what I'm after. Because we have a real enemy and the stakes are high. They are eternal. We should want to win. It's why Paul talks about, I run the race that is set before me. All throughout the Bible is a language of winning. Well done, good and faithful servant. If you hear that at the end of your life, you have won. We should want to take ground, storm the gates of hell, advance God's kingdom, heal the sick, set the captives free, cast out demons, tear down strongholds, occupy until Jesus comes back, reflect the light of Jesus to the dark world that we live in, take enemy territory, destroy the works of the devil, bring heaven to earth, and kick the kingdom of darkness in the face. This is what we have been invited to participate with God in. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. Max translation is kick the kingdom of darkness and kick the devil in the face. We are not here to participate. We are here to make a difference. We're not here to take up space. We are here to be wise stewards of what God's given us. We're not here to maintain. We are here to multiply. Waiting for Jesus' return means multiplying what he's given you, not maintaining it. Too many Christians are looking to maintain what they have rather than multiply. This happens when Christians get a consumer mindset instead of a kingdom investor mindset. When I was 19 years old and I was living in Los Angeles, I worked a job at a restaurant. And when I was interviewing, and I knew I would interview for a role there, I went to the restaurant. I thought I might as well check it out. And so I walked in. The host greeted me at the front. They took me to a seat. The server served us. I ate the steak. It was a steakhouse. I love steak, side note. It was really good. And I thought, this is amazing. I would love to work here. What I didn't realize is that working there would be very different from eating in the restaurant. And so I went from the restaurant seating, eating steak, to being in the kitchen, preparing the steak. It was a very different experience. I went from consuming to contributing. I went from being served to serving. And can I tell you, it was a big mindset shift. When Christians have a consumeristic mindset, nothing they get will ever be enough. It's why they're very, very unhappy, sour-faced. Imagine a consumer Christian comes to church. No matter where they park, the parking spot is too far away, and it's the parking team's fault. They walk through the front doors, and nobody was welcoming enough, and it's all the welcome team's fault. The host team puts them in a seat, and they never like the seat they get. It's all the host team's fault. The message is never deep enough. The worship team never sings their favorite song. The prayer team is never quite powerful enough for them. And no matter what they get, no matter how much they consume, it is never enough and it never satisfies because they're driven by selfish desires, selfish motives. Consumers typically complain, whereas multipliers rejoice. The solution is to stop coming to be served and to start coming to serve. To stop showing up trying to get something from others and instead focus on how to give to others. To stop worshiping God for what we can get from him. God, I want to feel the goosebumps. I want, this from you. I want that from you. And instead show up and go, God, you are worthy. God, you are holy. God, I'm worshiping you not for what you can do for me, but as a response to who you are. God, I'm not trying to get from you. God, I want to give my worship to you. I promise, if that is your focus and that's your posture in worship, you will have so much more of an encounter with the Spirit of God than you've ever had, trying to get something from God. Stop looking for friends who can meet your needs. Start being a good friend to other people and trying to meet their needs. You know what I've discovered after 3.5 years of starting this church? The people who have the most friends are the best friends. It's this crazy thing. People that show up and they're like, I want to get this and get this and get this and get this. It's weird. The people that show up and they're like, how can I bless this person? How can I help this person? How can I pray for them? Those are the people that have an abundance of relationships. It's why Jesus says in Luke 6, give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full. Pressed down, shaken together to make room for more, running over and poured into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you give back. If you give nothing, you will get nothing. If you give an abundance and you bless people and you show up, how can I help you? You will have an abundance of people trying to bless you in return, trying to help you in return, and you will have no shortage of relationships. Life changes when you stop asking, what's in it for me? And you start asking, how can I serve God and how can I be a blessing to others? And the result is that you will receive so much more than when you were going around trying to get and trying to take. Waiting for Jesus' return means multiplying what he's given you, not maintaining it. Following Jesus is not complicated, but it is difficult. It's not complex, but it's hard. Jesus summarized the entire Old Testament. Jesus was like the master simplifier. Out of all the Old Testament, what do I need to do? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. Really? Is that simple? Jesus' teaching is not overly complex, but it is incredibly difficult. It is incredibly challenging. And if we want to follow Jesus, there's a shift that has to happen from selfishness to servitude. I remember the college example I used about my friend who drank a lot, and I was comparing myself to him and trying to figure out like, well, God, I'm better than him, but I was doing all this rank and comparing in my head. And the truth is that God never compares us to another person. What he does do is he compares us to us. And whenever in our life we find that we are consuming, we're trying to take, we're trying to get, we're coming with an off mindset. And I think just as a side note, Jesus' teaching was not about self-fulfillment. Right. It was about self-denial. Right. If you want to follow me, deny yourself. Good. Take up your cross and follow me. Yeah. It is the craziest thing in the kingdom of God. It is completely upside down from the world that we live in, that if you try to get and try to take, you'll never have enough. But if you lay down and you let go, you will have more than enough. And so in this life, if we find ourselves trying to consume, trying to take from other people, maintaining and not multiplying, I could give you all the 10 steps to do this and change your behavior and do all these things, but the truth is that something is disconnected at the source. That for the steward who did not steward well what they had, he did not understand God. He said God is harsh. God is not harsh. God is slow to anger. He is kind. He is loving. He's holy. Don't mess with him. But to say God is harsh and unloving is completely inaccurate. There was a problem at the source. There's an old cliche saying in church circles. Anybody notice how a lot of pastors, they try and make things rhyme? Either that or it all starts with the same letter. The 7 P's of whatever. I don't normally do that. But there's an old kind of cliche, I'll call it a preacherism, and it's if there's a problem with the fruit, then there's a problem at the root. And so if there are things that are manifesting in our lives, again, I can give you all the behavior modification steps and all that, but what it shows is something is off at the source. When I was running around the entire world trying to be happy and get this and get this and take this and take this, it never satisfied. What made the difference is when I shifted and I said, God, I don't want to live in my own strength and ability anymore. God, I no longer live. I want you to live in me. God, I want to decrease so that you can increase. God, I give you control. I don't want to take control. And when I did that, I adjusted the source. And when I did that, all of a sudden I found this whole new sense of joy and fulfillment.